Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, this is Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you locally today by Caesars Entertainment Group of Atlantic City. Come experience the ultimate sports destinations all season long. Wild Wild West, Tropicana, Harrah's Atlantic City. Book your game day experience today at Caesars.com. It's the day he's been waiting for all season long, the Mosher Monday Football at 4 edition, where he gets to recap Minshew Mania. We got a taste of Minshew Mania. How did it feel? How does the Minshew Mania feel, Mosher?
It felt like an Eagles 33-18 win. That's how it felt. I tell you what, it felt a whole lot better for Gardner Minshew and his dad than it probably felt for me or anybody else.
That video was great. I mean, I think he literally it would have put his father in cardiac arrest as hard as he was pushing him. Obviously, he's an excitable guy. I mean, you heard afterwards Dallas Goddard said he's a character. Miles Sanders said the same thing. You know, it's very similar to when Hurts played last year, and the players are like, what a leader he is. That stands out. And it sounds like, look, the Eagles have two very popular quarterbacks.
Yes. What's the expression? If you have two very popular quarterbacks, you don't have any? No, I'm just kidding. They do. Listen, both guys are good leaders in their own right. Both guys have some personality. And I think it's good that they have Gardner Minshew to be a backup, and he came in a situation where they needed him, and it worked out really well. The offense looked good, and that's ideally what the Eagles had in mind. They are very honest about how they treat the quarterback position differently, and if they can get great value, especially at the backup spot, they'll go for it, and that's why they felt comfortable trading a 6th-round pick for him, and why they felt comfortable trading away Joe Flacco for him. To make him the backup, I mean.
Obviously, Minshew played well, 20-25. He had a perfect quarterback rating in the first half. Mm-hmm. Are people blowing how well he played out of proportion? I mean, do you watch the tape and say, well, you know, I'm going just off of memory here. I don't have my stuff in front of me, but the first touchdown pass to Goddard, I mean, he's underthrown severely. If Hurts makes that throw, he doesn't have a strong enough arm. Minshew makes it, it's a touchdown, and this guy has to play. Did the numbers tell the story of how well Minshew played?
No, I don't think the numbers tell the story, although some of them do. I mean, if you're just looking at completion percentage and passer rating, no, they don't tell a full story. You're correct. There were a lot of underthrown passes. I think the number that tells the story is that, what did he have? 20 completions. I think 14 of them went to tight ends and running backs. So that's 70% of his completions were sort of schemed type of plays, and mostly kind of dump offs or screens. I mean, the Eagles ran a ton of screens. So as you mentioned, with being fair, right? When Jalen Hurts underthrows passes, or when Jalen Hurts doesn't see the field, or when Jalen Hurts, remember earlier in the year, even when he was completing passes, it was like, well, this is kind of a college-y offense. Well, a lot of those passes he was making yesterday were one read or no read. A screen is a no read play type of plays, and there's nothing to take away from him in that. He did his job, but there's also no reason to look at it and think that he did something so ridiculously amazing that it's got to be more than just a really good job as a backup quarterback.
Right. I mean, it's very it's funny because, and look, I like Minshew. I think he is a great asset to have. In fact, it's something, this is all encompassing of where this organization is. Roseman makes a smart, savvy move to go get a backup quarterback who helps you win a game. No one wants to say that's a smart move by Roseman because people don't like Roseman. So they want him to be the starting quarterback, which is interesting because when Hurts plays well, it was only against Atlanta. Nobody seems to care that Minshew just beat a really bad Jets team. But the same people who say it was only against Atlanta are the same people who say this team, playoffs, what are you talking about? Now they're saying, well, this guy gives you the best chance to make the playoffs, without saying, well, they just beat Atlanta, and I was the same guy 3 weeks ago telling you they had no shot at making the playoffs. Like, all of the hypocrisy is rolling into Minshew Mania all right here.
Well, I mean, there's no flip-flop like Flip or Flopadelphia. I mean, it's truly the case. The backup quarterback is always the most, for some reason, I think it's I wonder if it's generational. I feel like older guys like you and I can see this for what it is. Younger people who are more into immediate gratification and haven't lived through AJ Feely and Coy Detmer and Jeff Garcia, and didn't learn their lesson from Nick Foles, don't understand that so it's funny. I had this discussion with Adam about Kenneth Gainwell about a couple of weeks ago, where Adam Kaplan was saying, why don't they use him more? And I was saying, why don't people understand that when you have a rookie running back picked in the 5th round who didn't play last year, that having a plan for him is a good thing? Let's not get greedy. But with the backup quarterback, there's always a greed element. As soon as the backup quarterback plays well, you don't appreciate that you have a good backup quarterback, and now he has to become the starting quarterback. And the best point you make about the Atlanta game is that Jalen Hurts was great against Atlanta. He had 7 straight scoring drives against Atlanta, just like Gardner Minshew had 7 straight scoring drives against the Jets before they finally punted there. It seems like the lack of tape on Gardner Minshew in the Eagles offense is the best argument for the Minshew apologists right now, because Mike, and I've heard you talking about this today about how people flip-flop, right? If Gardner Minshew was the starting quarterback, as soon as he lost a game, whether it's Washington, New York, whatever, as soon as the pressure got to him, as soon as he threw anything that would happen that's bad, and he lost a game, the same people who are calling for him now would be like, get me Jalen Hurts back on this. Because I know this because the same people who don't want Jalen Hurts to go forward 2 weeks ago after he beat the Broncos and the Saints were calling him a franchise quarterback until the Giants lost.
Well, look, yeah, it's funny because Hurts has had 4 games of over 100 quarterback rating. One, he had a game of 94 quarterback. He's played some good games. Now, some of the games that he played well in, they didn't win. Their defense was so bad in those games that he just didn't have a shot to win. Now, has he been great? No. Here's the thing. I described it like this, Moshe. Minshew mania is like a holiday. It happens every once in a while, but you don't like what happens in between. The holiday season's fun, but the days leading up to the holiday, there's a lot of stress and getting ready for the holidays. We only hear about Minshew mania every once in a while because it only comes out every once in a while. He was 1-7 in Jacksonville for a reason. I like him. He's a great asset as your backup, but it's like Fitz magic. It happens every once in a while. It always seems to be against your team, but the other games when you don't see him, they're not so good. So I think the Eagles have an interesting conundrum here is the problem is they don't have a quarterback that's so good that the answer is definitive. There's the issue.
That is absolutely the issue. You're right that there is an element of Fitz magic, Foles magic, whatever Jeff Garcia brought to the team in 2006. But you'll realize no matter how successful Jeff Garcia was, the organization was not going back to him because it had Donovan McNabb, and that's the type of quarterback an organization's always going to prioritize. Now, the Eagles don't have right now a Donovan McNabb, a guy that they pick number 2 who's no doubt about it franchise. But I would have to ask people, because it seems like perspective has been varied as the season's gone on, what was the point of this year? Was the point of this year to make the playoffs at all costs, or was the point of this year to see if Jalen Hurts was the quarterback that could lead you into the playoffs and you can build around? Because real quick, you could just be the Chicago Bears of last year. Remember, they started off with Trubisky. They benched him and went to Foles. Then they went Foles and went back to Trubisky. And then they made the playoffs as the 8th seed, got their rear ends kicked in the first round, and yada, yada. They're on a new quarterback this year, and they're not very good. You can do that with Minshew and Hurts, then Minshew, then Hurts. Go make the playoffs. Maybe if Minshew wins you a game or 2 here over the stretch, go get your ass kicked by the Packers in the first round. And then what do you got in the offseason? So to me, I thought this was an evaluation year on, is Jalen Hurts good enough to take us to the playoffs this year and be that guy that we can continue to see his improvement going forward?
Well, it's so funny because, these people were like, playoffs, this team's not a playoff team. Are you out of your mind? You're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Because, look, I've been one guy all year essentially saying this team's probably going to be in the playoff mix all year long. You're nuts. You're out of your mind. Blah, blah. Do you watch how bad the league is? It's not like the Eagles are good. They're now saying this guy gives me the best chance of making the playoffs. Gardner Minshew gives you the best chance. You made a great observation, Moshe. However many of his completions did he have, they were to Goddard or running backs. Smith was just not involved in the game yesterday for whatever reason. Rieger, again, of course, not involved. Watkins had a couple of plays, but the wide receivers were not a part of this. This was a very safe offense yesterday.
Yes, perfectly, and there's nothing wrong with that. It was the perfect screen. I mean, obviously, the Jets can't defend the screen. They're very slow on the interior of their defense. And then, of course, the Eagles just continued to run well and gash the the opponent in the run. But Washington, you've seen the way Washington has played. I've been right about Washington all year long, by the way. I've said if there's one team that I have faith in kind of figuring it out by the end of the year, it's Washington, because they've got just too much talent across the board. And they are figuring it out. And the Giants play good defense. They stink offensively, but they don't give up a lot of points. You mean to tell me that in the next 3 games against Washington and New York that Gardner Minshew isn't going to see a lot of pressure in his face? Isn't going to see a totally different defensive front? Gardner does not put the ball down the field very well. He does not have a very strong arm. You saw that. We mentioned, he underthrew a lot of passes. Imagine if he's trying to throw off his back foot or trying to throw getting away from pressure. All right. It's not going to be pretty at times. And that's just the way it is. I mean, he's 6 feet tall on a good day. He's got average arm, and there's no reason to go to him because he's not the future. I've heard it said, well, maybe there's a chance he's the starter next year if Jalen Hurts isn't the guy. No, I don't think Gardner Minshew is going to be your starter next year. It's either Jalen Hurts or it's going to be a veteran quarterback that they trade for, or a kid that they draft that's going to be 6'3" or 6'4", 220 pounds, and can throw the ball 50 yards in the flick of a wrist. Because a couple of these guys that are going to be drafted do have strong arms, and they have prototype NFL bodies. Whether they're ready or not, I don't know. That's for other people to decide.
Why was Goddard had his best game, 6 for over 100, big part of the offense. Was that designed, or was that because Minshew just preferred throwing the ball to the backup to the tight end?
Well, I mean, I think it's because a little bit of all of that. He's a very good tight end. The first touchdown, Minshew put it up to him. That was the play action where I think there was a blitz, right? And Minshew kind of threw it up there, and Dallas caught it between 2 defenders, and then he took a hit and kept going and got the touchdown. The second one was a scheme play. I mean, he was wide open, and frankly, he was underthrown, but he was so wide open that it didn't matter. So bam, he catches the ball and it's a touchdown. And then there were 2 screens to Dallas Goedert, right? Which was there was a team that ran a tight end screen against the Eagles, or was it the Evan Ingram one? Yeah, that was. I was like, wow, I wish the Eagles would do that. It's kind of funny when that happened. I said, I wish the Eagles would do that for Dallas Goedert. And lo and behold, a week later, they're throwing tight end screens now. So yeah, I think that he's a big, good weapon to throw to. And when you're Gardner Minshew and you haven't had a whole lot of experience throwing to those guys, you go to that big target.
You mentioned in your observations over at InsideTheBirds.com about the first chance to really get to see Miles Sanders as, a 20-carry guy. He went over 100 yards as the first Eagle back to do that all season long, which is wild considering how many yards they've run for in the ground. But what did you think of Sanders? He got hurt, obviously, so that kind of put a little bit. Now, he said he thinks he's going to be ready in 2 weeks here, but did you, they're going to get Jordan Howard back possibly. We don't know about that, but the run game with Sanders as the featured back, what'd you think?
I thought it was, how can you think anything other than he did a really good job, and the running game was what really won the game for the Eagles on Sunday. They ran the ball well. They ran from under center. They ran from shotgun. He handled a heavy diet, which a lot of people said he could not do, a heavy dose of carries. He had his 21st carry in the third quarter, and that was a career high for him. And then after that, he ripped off the 34-yarder. So he got stronger as the game went on. And it's really unfortunate that he got hurt, because I know that kind of feeds into he's brittle. But, C.J. Mosley landed on his ankle. And I think any running back who's kind of nursing a sore ankle at that point is probably going to hurt when their linebacker lands right on it. But he was playing well, and I think he had 5 catches, Mike. He did not drop the ball a single time. So I know it's just one game, but, it's not like it's his first career game. I think he showed you he could handle the workload and still be effective as the game went on. Remember, we always wondered, why would Doug never give this guy the ball in the fourth quarter? What is it he had against Miles? Was it the ball security? Was it the durability? I don't know, but he got the ball in the third and fourth quarter a lot yesterday and did a really nice job.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people talk about Minshew and Goddard. They kind of highlighted that connection there, but they didn't do much else in the pass game there. So does that say more about who they are as a passing offense? Does that say more about Nick Sirianni as a play designer? What do you make of, hey, everybody said, hey, if you put Minshew in, possibly that will jumpstart the pass game. Didn't really happen because a lot of it, as you mentioned, safe, tight end, screen game.
I make of it like, if we use common sense here, Gardner Minshew has not had a whole lot of experience throwing to these guys. He's running the scout team. He's throwing to Keyshawn Johnson and John Hightower and Deion Kane for the most part. He even said this in his press conference, it's the first week of practice that I've really thrown to Dallas Goedert. So what Nick Sirianni did was his bread and butter. We're going to run the ball, right? They ran the ball 41 times for 185 yards. And then we're going to throw safe, easy passes, screens, over the middle, intermediaries, and play action, work off play action where you suck the defense in. And I think that was a smart thing to do. I think it would have been ridiculous to come out there and spread offense and throw the ball around when the quarterback is making his first start and hasn't even thrown to these guys. So, you know, I wasn't expecting some kind of Kansas City Chiefs-like passing game. I was expecting Nick Sirianni to rely on the run and then try to work the passing game off play action. That's what he did.
Yeah, I know that, you know, they obviously put some points on the board yesterday. 33 points they put on the board yesterday. So good outing by the offense. So let's take a look at, by the way, defense. I want to get to defense real quick. They did not play well in the first half, obviously. It was a back-and-forth game. The third quarter, they had the ball the whole time. They only scored 3 points. But what'd you make of the defense by John Gannon? I thought the game plan defensively was kind of head-scratching.
Yeah, I'm usually not very critical after a win. And there have been times this year, going back to October, where I've kind of defended Jonathan Gannon's approach because of the personnel. But he changed the personnel. He changed the scheme, which I was critical of with all the too deep. And they've been playing better lately. I don't understand not forcing the issue more in the first quarter, first half, or at all on a rookie quarterback who's been struggling. I thought it was an opportunity for them to really come after him, maybe force some early turnovers. And instead, they kind of rolled out the red carpet for him to start the game. And for honestly, for what the score looked like, it was a close game for the first half.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
they were lucky to be in the lead, really. I mean, you had 2 missed extra points by a kicker who got cut today. You know, without the 2 missed extra points, I mean, it's a 1-score game. I mean, it was right there. And look, they had a chance. They're driving late in the fourth quarter, like 7 minutes left. If they would have scored on that possession, it's a 1-score game. Who knows if your defense is not now Epps steps up and makes a pick and kind of squashes it all. But, you know, who knows?
Yeah, I'm surprised. And I think it still leaves some question as to who Jonathan Gannon is and what is he going to do when the quarterback gets to be Taylor Heineke, who's not great, but he's good enough. They've won 4 in a row and he's playing well. What are they going to do when it's Dak Prescott if that game means something at the end of the year? He has so far against better quarterbacks, even sometimes average quarterbacks, not forced the issue. And you just wonder if at some point he's going to pay the price again like he was earlier in the year.
Yeah. Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast. And I'm sure, you know, let's take a look at now big picture. They're 6-7, half a game out. We do a segment where, you know, who you're rooting for. You needed to root for Seattle, they won. You needed to root for Detroit, they won. You needed to root for Tampa, they won. The only one that didn't win was Vegas, so that makes it an interesting conundrum, ball of wax here where you got Washington is actually the 6th seed right now. Mm-hmm. San Francisco 7, Philadelphia is 8. Philly and Washington play twice. Washington plays Dallas twice. Who do you root for in the Washington-Dallas games? You want Washington to win twice? You want them to split? Do you want Dallas to put them out of their misery? How do we read those games?
I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier because if you root for Washington to win twice, well, then they're going to leapfrog you if you're battling for one spot. But if you do that, then, you know, maybe you've got a chance to catch Dallas, which is very, very unlikely. But it would be there if they lost twice to Washington. I think they have to play another good team, Dallas, coming up. If I'm not mistaken, I have to check the schedule, but they got one more like difficult opponent, maybe is it the Chargers? Somebody in the AFC
Dallas
West,
plays the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's right. So let's say Washington beats them twice, right? In that theory, and the Cardinals beat them. Then all of a sudden you're looking at a Washington team that, you know, you're probably only a Dallas team that you might only be a game behind by the time you go up and play them.
Yeah,
so
it's really an odd. I said, you have a chance of 3 NFC East teams making the playoffs possibly.
Yeah, that's not happening. We all know that. I don't know, but I think it's fascinating. I think week to week you're going to have a different set of circumstances that you're probably going to be rooting for. All
right, grow your mustache, Moshe. I'll see you Wednesday.
See you, buddy.
Football at 4, Geoff Mosher, the Inside the Birds podcast, the new podcast is out now. You can check that out wherever you listen to your podcast. And, of course, Moshe is back on Wednesday.